I wanted to lose my virginity to Mazzy Star's Fade Into You since I was 14 years old. And I still want to lose my virginity to that song now that I'm 28 and I can't recall the names of most of my sexual partners. Back then, Mazzy's slide guitar conjured images for me of elvish, black-haired, large-eyed, slim-waisted girls. Girls who would gasp upon being entered and hold my hand in front of all of my friends afterwards. There would be a gentle breeze and a summer night involved and a desperation worthy of a 1970s Italian movie. Now, I managed to get the part about the summer night into the contract when I finally did lose my virginity at the ripe age of 16, but there was no music to be heard. There wasn't a lot of sound at all, in fact, except for crickets and helpful suggestions, and then apologies. The elf child I'd kind of dreamed of was replaced by a community college dropout 3 years my senior. She practiced witchcraft and gave me homemade beeswax candles as a consolation prize. We were not boyfriend and girlfriend. This point was made very crystal clear to me, and I did not argue it a bit. And later that night, after she dropped me off home and I had myself a good cry, I curled up in my beanbag chair and reflected on how my fantasy and the reality managed to manifest themselves so far apart. I was born in 1981, and I came into hypersexual awareness around 1995, and this was the era of Fade Into You and its male twin, Crash Into Me by Dave Matthews. These were the swan songs for sensitive youth like myself, whose sexual imaginings contained more elements of fantasy than the Chronicles of Narnia. These weren't songs so much as they were epic soundtracks. They were carefully crafted to underscore the series of poignant moments that I lived my teenage life by. But the tragic irony here, and like me, for most teenagers, was that I was not nearly as capable at executing the grace that I was so good at imagining, that Mazzy Star personified. And as awkward as I was alone, if you added another teenager to that same room as me, much less a lady teenager, then it just multiplied the ineptitude of the whole thing by another factor. It was awful to watch. It was like a car accident. You went like this. And even if I had been some pubescent Casanova at that time, there's this unmovable truth, this truism out there that was waiting for me to discover that would polish off my fantasy entirely. It turns out sex was inherently silly. Who knew? The insertion of engorging slabs of pheromone spewing meat into one another did not lend itself to elegance. Who knew? Well, my first girlfriend, Amber Wade, knew, apparently. She was a tall, healthy blonde. She smelled like Downy dryer sheets and excelled at sports. She was not mysterious or ethereal. The only thing otherworldly about her was her eagerness to have sex with a drama kid who managed to get himself excused from PE because he took fencing classes after school. But what Amber had going for her was that she was real, and that was a major advantage. Amber and I rarely made love to music. We had to be quiet in our underage romps and devious in our rendezvous. It was the ambient sounds of suburbia that played us on stage, if you will, which was very appropriate because we reveled in having sex as it existed in the physical world. Less as that pretty, perfect picture show and more as a wet, orca-sounding circus, complete with giggle fits. And I gave her credit for how I turned out as sexually relatively healthy as I am now. But now, with my invitation to my 10-year reunion of that time sitting on my desk at home, it's not Amber that my mind goes immediately to. It's that supernatural ghost of a girl that I saw in my mind when Fade Into You first played. That was my formative moment. And because no one was responsible for it but my own imagination, nothing could break it. And just when I'm about to dismiss that as sentimentality or the folly of youth, I'll live through a moment that drags me right back to boyhood. Without warning or intention on my part, there will be a Santa Ana night. And I'll be shocked to discover that my lover's mouth has never felt so wet or so cool or so perfect in a way that no fantasy could ever have prepared me for. And it's then that I wonder if kids don't have all the answers after all, and we just grow up to forget them as some sort of merciful gesture, saving us from realizing how often we've let ourselves fall short. Thank you.